wishing to provide comments. The first is Ursinio Rivera, speaking on item number 17. Can you step up, please?
Good morning, Chair and members of the board member. My name is Ursinio Rivera. I live at 2430 Adam Clayton Park Jr., that's Drew Hamilton Complex, apartment 2H. And I've been having the hazardous is about the pipe broke. And this 6 months ago, the same pipe broke also. They're not doing nothing about it. I spoke to the property manager, Drew Hamilton. She says another leak in the same place. And these are the pictures. Look at this. These are the pictures in the bathroom. You could look if you want a closer look. Look for name. And top of the toilet bowl, there's 8 different leaks coming down. They had to come and peel the plastic away because all the plastic is coming. Then they told me keep away from the medicine cabinet because that might fall on you. Then the socket, don't put any electrical thing because there's water all over inside the wall. And again, I had no response for them. They came, the maintenance came, like I said, to do the peeling. And then they said, I said, what about the pipe? But then I seen the picture, the same pipe that broke in apartment 8H and 9H, it's the same problem all over. And this happened 6 months ago that they fixed it. And that one took like from the July the 2nd to the 23rd. Because the 18th, they came down, the plumber came down, but Drew Hamilton didn't have no money for the material. So now I'm having the same problem December the 5th when I called them up again. I told them I have a leak. The 6th, all this water came down. I mean, it's just terrible. And now it's so hazardous and all that. This is just water all over. The paint is peeling. The plastic's coming down. And that's what I have to say, Chairman and board members. Again, I'm from Drew Hamilton. My name is Ursinio Rivera. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Would you speak with Ms. Pennington, please, and we'll see some follow-up, okay?
I have those pictures.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'll bring them right over to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the second speaker, Loretta Humphrey, speaking on number 2. Please step up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Loretta Humphrey. I am an FHA resident. I live at 178-14 Baisley Boulevard. I'm here speaking on behalf of my personal home, my home that I live in, and also the FHA residents who have been left behind regarding the transfer of title to their homes. I wanted to speak on something different, but maybe I'll be able to speak to someone afterwards. But I see you have an award of a contract for roof replacement, roofing structure. The FHA residents are always left out. Right now, I don't think I need a roof, but my facade needs to be upgraded.
Which item is that? I'm sorry. Which item?
FHA, number 2. Number 2. The back steps are separating. I also requested, I did it personally myself, for solar paneling, since you have solar paneling on your agenda these days. And I need to speak to someone to get some clarity on my home. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, that concludes our public comments portion, and we now proceed with the regular calendar. The first order of business is a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting.
Second.
November 28, 2018. Do I have a motion? Sorry, let me see first. Second was, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now proceed with the chair's remarks.
In deference to the principal item for presentation and discussion today, I'm going to refrain from particular remarks and wait for the discussion on the financial plan.
Thank you. So we may now proceed with the items 1 through 9.
Good morning, Deborah Goddard, presenting for Capital. Item number 1 is a recommendation to amend the contract. It's a third increase to a construction management services contract for the comprehensive improvements at Sotomayor. Our CM is HAX. This increase is in the amount of a little over $5.8 million to bring the contract up to almost $16 million. Sotomayor is a fairly comprehensive scope of work. And over the course, the scope has increased. In March, phase 1 of the comprehensive rehab package was bid. The bids came in very high. Based on that recommendation, our recommendation, the board agreed to reject all bids. We then divided the 3 phases of Sotomayor into further into 3 contracts each for trade-related bidding, and that does seem to have worked. We are now underway in the first phase, doing roofs, facades, window replacement at 10 of the buildings there, 1 rat slab project, and the bids have come in much better than the first time around. But this does mean that HAX's work has increased. We also doubled the value of the work, as well as splitting it into 9 contracts that must be administered. Therefore, we're recommending, again, this increase, which would bring their fee to still only 7.8% of the estimated construction costs, which is less than the 10% industry standard. If there are no questions, I'll move to item number 2, which is the recommendation to award a contract for roofing replacement, exterior facade renovation at Bourne Plaza 1 to Armstrong Roofing Corporation in an amount of over $12 million. This is part of the mayor's roofing initiative, and we'll also tackle local law 11 work there. Armstrong, this is their first job with us, so we're pleased to welcome a new contractor. We've checked with their references at the School Construction Authority, which came back positive. Their VNC has been approved at this point. Their bid came in 19.35% lower than our estimate. This is, we believe, related to the fact that they will self-perform concrete, masonry, and roofing work rather than subbing it. We believe they understand the project and can deliver. They are proposing 10 Section 3 hires. Item number 3 is the recommendation to award a contract for the senior center upgrade at Monroe Houses to S&N Builders. They are the second lowest bidder at a price of slightly under $3 million. Our estimate was more than that. This is center is run by Acacia Network and the Institute for the Puerto Rican / Hispanic Elderly. They run daycare services with activities, meals, and social services here. The scope includes renovations to the kitchen, upgrades to the mechanical equipment, the bathrooms, wood flooring in the dining area, and upgrades to existing emergency lighting and the fire alarm system, roofing repairs, and asbestos. So quite a comprehensive scope. S&N is a minority firm. They've performed projects with us in a satisfactory manner in the past. They are the second low bidder. As I mentioned, the first low bidder did not meet the required experience criteria outlined in our formal proposal. The VNC is pending, so this contract award is not finalized until that is cleared. They came in almost 20% lower on the bid variance, but to note, OMB requires that we carry a 10% contingency. That's not included in the bid, so when we look at that, we're back down within our 15% leeway. They are proposing 3 Section 3 hires. This is funded by Councilmember Palma, the borough president, and the Department of Aging. Items 4 through 8 are the recommendation to reject all bids for exterior renovation IDIQ contracts at various developments citywide. These bids came in well over our estimate. The minimum size of the size of the contracts at that point, as we bid them, was $75 million. We think this likely limited the bidding pool. We also have not done this work through IDIQ contracts before. We've done it through requirement contracts. And we also think that perhaps the guaranteed minimum, which you have to do under IDIQ, was not high enough. The bids, as I mentioned, came in high. They ranged from 56% over our estimate and upwards. We are repackaging them. We will go out with six contracts ranging in value between $50 and $60 million each. Borough specific, we expect to be better prices outside of Manhattan. We may increase the guaranteed minimum amount of work, and we will be reaching out directly to masonry contractors. We do have capacity in our existing contracts to keep the work going through this rebid process. Therefore, again, we're recommending to reject all of the contracts, items 4 through 8. There are no questions. That's it for capital. Thank you.
9?
9. Sorry. Oh, yes, I flip it over and there's 9. Sorry. We're going to reject all bids for the Ingersoll Houses exterior renovation. This is a scope of work that was removal and replacement of cracked, spalled, or deteriorated bricks, installation of spandrel beams, reduction of smokestacks, a comprehensive exterior project. The lowest bidder was not responsive. They did not comply with the formal proposal. The second lowest bidder came in at almost 44% over our authority's cost estimate. We think that is excessive. So we are going to repackage the work, maybe separate it into 2 contracts with the expectation of increasing the bidding pool. Again, we are recommending rejection of this contract, item number 9. And now I am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm PB Anantram, CFO, and we're presenting items 10, 11, and 12, resolutions 10, 11, and 12. Resolution 10 seeks ratification of our investment activities from the quarter ending September 30. And essentially, we have a little shy of $1 billion that are in various investment strategies that are lined up according to HUD's requirements in safety, liquidity, maturity, and those kinds of investment guidelines. But half of our money are in callable bonds or repos, and about 20+ percentages are in bank accounts. So essentially, this is our returns for the quarter ending September were about $5 million. And overall for the year, we've earned around $20 million. Any questions? So 11 and 12 are our annual version of seeking approval for our financial plan. Don't know, is that visible or there's a screen behind us? So the 2019 operating and capital budgets are what are items 11 and 12. As you know, the capital budget essentially is about $6.4 billion and provides for long-term structural changes in the organization. A lot of the money is about $6.4 billion. A decent part of it is provided by the city, is about $300+ million on an annual basis comes from the feds. We also have monies available from FEMA for Sandy and hurricane relief. But while those monies essentially go to address long-term structural issues, the operating budget focuses more on our current spend and our immediate plans for next year, which begins January of 2019. If we flip to the next slide, it lays out, the screen is rather unclear, but it lays out in large tranches where we get our resources from. As you can see, close to $1 billion comes from federal operating subsidies, $1 billion from tenant rent, and another $1 billion for the Section 8 program. The city's support for us has increased over the years and is closely approaching $300 million. About $100 million of those is to support the collective bargaining agreements that we've had in the last 2 rounds. About 72 from the last round and 26 from this round of collective bargaining. We have another $100 million that the city is providing us for apartment readiness in 19. We actually had the money in 18, but are able to roll it into 19. So that's a good chunk that will support our operations for 2019. In addition, in the out years, there's another $50 million on an ongoing basis for those purposes. The balance of the money supports community centers, heating, lighting, senior centers, and the like. On the expense side, about 40% of our money goes for our personnel spending. A large, about 8,500 of our 10,700 odd positions that is supported in 2019 will provide for funding for the operations department, which is our largest department. And about $500 million goes for our utility, heating and electricity costs. And $374 million are provided in contracts, which is close to $100 million increase over the current year to provide for contracts related to lead, heat, rats, a variety of things that you'll see in the next page. So 2019 budget makes significant commitments in areas that have plagued NYCHA for some time. As I mentioned earlier, while the capital plan provides for structural needs for a long-term basis, this one, the operating budget, and these commitments are a strong signal that we intend to take quality of life issues to heart and make significant improvements based on practices that we've already engaged in. So we have $110 million that will be used beginning the second quarter of 2019 to do testing of all 135 apartments, and the testing is expected to continue into 2020. The results of that will inform our remediation work, and this money is included for painting and in interiors and common areas too. The next item, $35 million for NYCHA Cares, is an expansion of the mayor's program that was provided in the city's fiscal year 19 and 20, which sort of overlaps our fiscal year. So we have $10 million of that money left next year. We're adding $25 million to that. That would be about $35 million. And in addition to that, we have another $50 million program for 2020. The last go around of this experiment, which was started in June in 3 developments, addressed 13,000 work orders in that small span of time. And we expect that these monies will go to reducing the backlog significantly. And I believe it's the general manager's plan to end the backlog by 2020, right? Ambitious, sure. But so it's a lot of work, but I think it's going to make a huge difference and an immediate difference in the quality of our residents' lives. The next item of $21 million is also funding that is provided by the city to improve the heating systems and reduce outages in our developments. And the focus here is going to be adding 5 new boilers and replacing a variety of components in the distribution system across 70 developments. And these include zone valves, vacuum containers, and many other components that I would rather allow the heating engineers to sort of explain. The next item is also a significant investment in an issue that has been rather much in the forefront. $12 million will provide, again, in mayoral funds, CDBG funds, will allow us to spend on rat floors, burrows, addressing rodent infestations in certain areas, and we will also be hiring exterminators and caretakers to install close to 8,000 door sweeps across the system, and we expect to have a major impact on infestation. There's money also associated with this bucket to address roaches and other bed bugs and other pests. Lastly, $2 million is provided to strengthen the compliance department. We are going to increase the size of the compliance department threefold, and it is currently being stood up, and we will be looking at all areas across the system and focus on rectifying those that we find to be out of order. And as the teams come together, we will have a better sense of the work that is entailed in that front. We're also increasing the size of the audit department to provide for greater accountability.
Maybe if I can just want to
Please.
clear up one piece that you mentioned about the first bullet point. So the 110 million to support the testing and remediation of lead hazards, that is separate and aside from the XRF testing. That is based on the visual assessments that are being conducted, which are required both by Local Law 1 of 2000, as well as the HUD regulations. So that $110 million is really to support the visual assessments and the remediation that is coupled with it. It's no secret that we're on target to complete the visual assessments for this year. The remediation is starting to follow based on the results. So that is to do the remediation both in the apartments as well as in the common areas.
Yes.
Separate and aside is the XRF testing.
Got it.
We did receive the RFPs back. They're still being reviewed internally by a committee, and we hope to present to the board shortly our recommendations for that contract.
I should mention on that vein, the city has already also provided $1 billion for the consent decree, a significant amount of which can be used for this. And we're also working with the Controller's Office and the city's Office of Management and Budget to capitalize as much of these expenses as possible. So
right. I just wanted to just also, I'm just going to run down real quickly. So on the NYCHA Cares, it's been a huge success. Operations has really stepped up on this initiative. We announced it in June. We started the program in July, early July, primarily using the mayor's money. The chair has committed additional resources for the next 2 years to this program. As of last week, we closed about 25,000 skilled trade work orders. Right? And what I really like about this program is that not only are we identifying skilled trade work orders that have aged, but when we go into the apartments, when we go into the people's homes, right, if we identify other conditions that require a skilled trade work order, we're creating those work orders while we're in the apartment. We're addressing those conditions as well. So we're not just walking in saying, we're here to fix the ceiling in the bathroom, but if the ceiling in the bedroom is in disrepair as well, we're not doing that. Right? That's not what this program is about, so I think it's been a huge success. Kind of a spin-off of that, and we still haven't come up with a catchy name yet. I'm going to call it NYCHA Lowercase Cares. So we have successfully completed our second Saturday Blitz, where we are focusing our efforts on maintenance work orders. These are mostly quality of life issues. The first Saturday, we did one development in each of the 5 boroughs, and we closed out almost 900 open maintenance work orders in one day. Right? We did our second Saturday this past weekend. We again selected 5 developments. There were not one per borough, but we did select 5 developments, and we closed out just a little over 900 maintenance work orders. And our commitment is to continue to do 2 of those Saturday blitzes until we come up with a much better name for the program, 2 each month until we've addressed the backlog of maintenance work orders. So these 2 initiatives, I think, have been hugely successful, and it shows our residents that we do care. We're listening to them. Right? We're doing it on Saturdays when people are more likely to be home. Right? What we're also doing is we're opening up our offices, the management offices. And I don't have the exact numbers, but we've had a lot of residents who have come in to complete their recertifications or to come in and speak with the housing assistant to clear up some of their paperwork. So it's been hugely successful in that aspect of as well. Right? On the $21 million, the 5 mobiles you talked about, the focus, this is not to replace heating plants. Right? I think what we have recognized from this heat season so far, and again, I want to congratulate Joey and her team, the heating division. We've put a lot of new initiatives in place for this heat season. The numbers are speaking for themselves. I just looked at the report early this week. Today's only Tuesday, Wednesday. Last year at the same time period, it was taking us 39 hours to restore heat. So far this year, it's taking us 10 hours. Right? But I'm a realist, and I'm not suggesting that 10 hours will continue, but we are striving to meet that goal. We're still only 2 months, 2.5 months into heat season. But what we've realized is that the heating plants are not failing. Right? It's what happens between the heating plant and actually providing heat to the unit. Right? And that's where we're seeing a lot of our problems this heat season. So a lot of the money is going to address from the heating plant to the apartment, zone valves, replacement of some of the pumps. Thank you, Joey. So it's something that we need to invest in. I know that I've talked to Deborah and her team at Capital. I believe that the need for distribution systems exceeds $1 billion. Yeah, underground distribution systems. So we're doing everything that we can to ensure that we deliver a better service to our residents. On the rodent and pest, speaks for itself. Our vision is to get to zero. We'd like to be a rat-free owner. We'd like to have rat-free buildings. So that $12 million is certainly going to be a boost in the arm, especially with respect to the additional staff. These exterminators will not be assigned to regular work orders as they come in. We have approximately 100 exterminators that will be responding to work orders as they are called in. These exterminators will be kind of like a team, similar to what we're doing with NYCHA Cares and the Saturday Blitzes. So their focus will be to identify developments where we see infestation, and we will put a lot of resources into those buildings to address the infestation. We're also looking to incorporate more integrated pest management, which is really to address the root of the problem, not just to bait and trap, but to find out where the source is, to plug holes where there's access points, and to educate our residents as to what they should be doing and could be doing to help us battle the rodent infestations. So we're excited about all of these.
Thank you. I think that's a lot more eloquent than I did. Flipping to the next slide, we'll talk a bit about the capital plan. Our 5-year capital plan is around $6.4 billion, and the slide in front of you identifies for you the sources of funding and the uses of funding. As you can tell from here, the federal government provides for $2.1 billion, which is an accumulation of grants from a couple of years in the past going into the next 5 years. We have $2.6 billion of funding from the city included within, which is $1.2 billion for the consent decree. The state allocation of $450 million that had been promised is also programmed in here. And the city's allocation of community development block grant monies for capital purposes is reflected here. The balance of FEMA is the next item, and a few others. Most of the work goes for heating and plumbing work, and interiors and structural and exterior work. The page following highlights some of the uses of these funds. They would be to address long-term structural needs in the areas that have the most need. We focus on, and Ms. Goddard can probably explain this a lot better than I can, but it talks about the investment that we're making in boilers that have reached end stage and are in time for replacement. We have elevators across $220 million across 29 developments programmed into the 5 years. This is, there's work that is projected out beyond the 5 years, but since we're presenting a plan to you for the 5 years, that's what we're highlighting here. We have 600 roofs that are to be addressed with $663 million. If I recall correctly, we've done 70 plus already, and the close of this year we'll have another 100 done. we have close to $500 million available for kitchens and bathrooms, and another $95 million will provide funding for facades and to come into compliance with local law 11. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Just to,
Sorry.
this, in this presentation, we tried to bring forward the most important elements, both on the operating side and on the capital side. And budgets are fundamental documents, really describing what a particular organization is doing relative to its mission, what its goals and objectives are for the year, or the 3-year, or the 5-year window. It's also a foundational tool for management and for assuring accountability. In effect, what's been described and what is described further in the budget and the capital plan is the first basis for our measuring the success or failure, the progress or the lack of progress in doing our job, and tying our budget-related performance to what we call NYCHA stat, which is a variation that we're refining for NYCHA's purposes of the police department ComStat. The key is not to merely make pronouncements, but as Vito described, to convert these proposed expenditures into units of management with goals and objectives and milestones that go beyond simply whether or not we're spending the money, but spending the money timely, spending the money effectively. It's all part of a piece to try to make NYCHA as accountable as it can be and to assure that every dollar is spent wisely and efficiently.
I should mention that this year's grant, 2018's federal capital grant, was a little 200 million over what we normally receive. And the same was true on our expense allocations. We got slightly higher amounts. And if that continues, if the capital allocations continue into the next 5 years, we can expect another $1 billion, which will go a long way towards addressing significant issues.
Hallelujah. If that happens.
Hallelujah. Any questions? Yes, please.
Speaking of budgets and dollars, from what I understand, we've done a lot of things with the recovery for Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
My question is FEMA releasing the dollars so that we can continue the good work that we've been doing with the restoration for Sandy issues on time?
There's $825 million left. I'll allow Ms. Goddard to espouse first.
Yeah, we're not having problems with FEMA on that, and we have spent or committed 2/3 of the money at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So if there are no questions, I'd like to thank Ms. Georgiana Okoroji and all her staff for all the wonderful work that they put into this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning. Matt Charney, Director of Real Estate Development for New Construction. I'm presenting Resolution 13 today on the Next Gen Neighborhoods project at Holmes Towers. As authorized by the board, Resolution 18-530-21, and amended in October of this year. The board authorized the authority to submit the Section 18 application to HUD for this project. This second resolution on this project does two things. First, it allows us to enter into an agreement to lease upon approval of the Section 18 application, and then subsequently to enter into the ground lease with Fettner Properties or their affiliate for the development of this project. The agreement to lease gives the developer Fettner a commitment from the authority to a limited period of exclusivity prior to entering into the ground lease. Places certain obligations on the authority to enter into the ground lease, as well as places obligations upon Fetner that must be met in order to enter the ground lease. We expect the closing for this project to be in the spring of 2019 and to enter into the agreement to ground lease sometime in the beginning of this year, next year, sorry. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, board members, and GM Kathy Pennington, Executive Vice President for Operations, presenting Board Resolutions 14 to 16. Authorization is requested to award this requirement contract to the lowest responsive bidder. And these two resolutions are for fire alarm systems between the Eldona Fire Protection and one between Imperial Fire Protection. These are 2-year requirement contracts with a 1-year renewable option to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. So Resolution 14 is with Eldona Fire Protection for $1,490,888, and Resolution 15 is for Eldona Fire Protection for $1,959,156,000, and those are for Manhattan properties. And Resolution 16 is awarded to Imperial Fire Protection for Brooklyn properties in the amount of $2,352,274. Are there any questions on the fire system?
For Queens.
Okay, Resolution 17 is a request for approval to increase in a not to exceed amount a requirement contract to Clean Ventures for oil spill cleanups and hazardous and non-hazardous waste disposal. And this contract is for a citywide services in the amount of $88,801.
Kathy?
Yes.
This is a response. They respond to need, right? In this,
Yes, we call them out if, for instance, there was an oil spill.
And is there an expectation as to time of response?
It's immediate. Yeah, they have to respond. I don't know specifically how the contract states it, but there's an immediate response requirement if there is an oil spill. And in the last year, we had 8 incidents where we required a response on oil spills. So it's critical that we have it in place.
Within 2 hours of notifications.
Within 2 hours.
Thank you. Resolution 18 to 23. Are resolutions to provide HVAC system services at our PSA locations, and they are being awarded to 3 different contractors for a total of 5 requirement contracts. One is with High Tech Air Conditioning, the second is with Zone Air, and with CNS Building Services. So Resolution 18 is awarding High Tech Air $150,000, and Resolution 19 is awarding High Tech Air $50,000 for the same services. Resolution 20 is awarding High Tech Air Conditioning Services $150,000. Resolution 21 is awarding High Tech Air $100,000. Resolution 22 is awarding Zone Air Systems $75,000 for the same preventative maintenance, repair, replacement, heating services. Resolution 23 is awarding $150,000 to CNS Building Services for the same preventative maintenance and repair services. at these locations. Any questions?
Right, the change order is not awards, right?
The change orders, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kelly McNeil, I'm General Counsel. I'm presenting item number 24. Authorization is requested to amend the retainer agreement with Hertzfeld Rubin, PC, for outside counsel services, which did not require initial board authorization for the duration of litigation as subsequently amended to increase the not to exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services, which commenced on June 29th, 2018, and is continuing through the duration of litigation. Hertzfeld Rubin is providing outside counsel services regarding the litigation matter of Maribel Baez against the New York City Housing Authority. This funding for $144,400 is requested in order to pay for certain legal services already rendered and to fund the continued provision of legal services, which commenced on June 29, 2018, and is continuing through the conclusion of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Carrie Jew, Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer. This morning, I'm presenting Board Resolution number 25. With this resolution, I'm seeking authorization to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 237 to provide for economic and non-economic changes to the parties' collective bargaining agreement. The memorandum of agreement provides the following, but is not limited to: 3 separate general wage increases of 2.0%, 2.25%, and 3.0% effective May 30th, 2018, August 30th, 2019, and August 30th, 2020, respectively. These increases would be applicable to housing unique titles: caretaker, supervising housing groundskeeper, supervisor of housing caretaker, assistant manager, housing manager, assistant resident building superintendent, resident building superintendent, emergency service aide, heating plant technician, housing assistant, housing exterminator, housing stock worker, and supervisor of housing stock workers. Also, 4 separate annual annuity increases of $196.13, $49.57, $207.93, and $43.58 effective March 30th, 2019, August 30th, 2019, March 30th, 2020, and August 30th, 2020, respectively. An agreement to work together to opt into the New York State Paid Family Leave Program on or about June 1st, 2019, the creation of a labor management committee relating to the recruitment, retention, and training of heating plant technicians, and last but not least, the creation of an alternative work schedule which provides for 7-day coverage, 13 hours per day for the following employees in the following titles: caretaker, supervisor of housing caretakers, supervising housing groundkeeper, assistant resident building superintendent, and resident building superintendent. The agreement provides for a one-time $1,500 payment for those employees who volunteer for the alternative shifts. Additionally, all employees will receive a 20% differential for working weekend hours as part of their regular work week. The term of the agreement is May 30th, 2018 through December 29th, 2021. And if you would indulge me for a moment, I'd like to specifically acknowledge and thank our NYCHA team whose tireless efforts made the alternative work schedule provisions possible: Yadira Espinal, Nicole Van Gent, and Robin Radkevitz. Any questions?
I think it's worth noting both the historic nature of this agreement, the implications, the benefits to services to our tenants, our view that this will be followed up with additional negotiations and contracts for other segments of the workforce, and that much of this was accomplished by the moving around of dollars so as to better do the job. And we would be remiss if we did not acknowledge the collaborative nature of the discussions with Local 237 and how pleased we were with that process and result, and what we hope for the future. And to add to the acknowledgments and thanks, the leadership of our general manager in achieving this outcome.
And to Kerry personally as well. It was a great effort.
In keeping with the budget again, talking dollars, these segmented hours that are going to take place. So if someone's working a shift other than the one that they're normally working, and this becomes part of their permanent time slot, that would be at regular hours, even though it's past regular hours for the actual day.
Correct. It's part of their regular work.
Right. So it's not time and a half, it's not.
With the exception of Saturdays and Sundays.
Right.
There will be a differential.
The weekend is different, I know.
Right.
But I'm more concerned with during the day, during the week, where, for example, if a shift was from 9 to 4, now it may be from 1 to 8. Is there a differential? No. Okay, thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Good morning, board members. My name is Polina Prtiyarov. I'm the Director for Preservation within NYCHA's Real Estate Development Department. I will be presenting items 26 and 27. Item 26 requests the board's authorization to dispose of Baychester and Murphy houses in accordance with HUD Part 200 approval letter via 99-year lease agreement, and to take such further action as may be necessary to consummate the project. Authorization is requested as it relates to the conversion, financing, and leasing of the project, consisting of 722 units, inclusive of 2 superintendent units located in Bronx County. Pursuant to Board Resolution 17-927-21, the board authorized the authority to submit documents to HUD to obtain the necessary approval to release Baychester houses consisting of 441 units and Murphy houses consisting of 281 units, both located in the Bronx, which are part of the LLC 2 portfolio, from the declaration of restrictive covenants, and in order to retain the developments outside of the federal public housing program and convert approximately 465 units at that time, which had not previously converted to Section 8 under the voluntary conversion plan, from a Section 9 public housing annual contributions contract to a Section 8 PBV HAP contract pursuant to Part 200 action. And other regulations prescribed by HUD. And upon that HUD approval, enter into 1 or more ground leases with 1 or more development partners for the rehabilitation and continued use of the developments as affordable housing. The authority received that Part 200 approval from HUD on December 8, 2017, to convert the projects to PBV assistance and otherwise dispose of them pursuant to a long-term lease agreement. Under that approval, the authority is transitioning project residents from public housing to PBV assistance. Such conversion will provide assistance and permit the developer to finance the much-needed capital repairs and substantial rehabilitation of the project and facilitate the transition to a single stream of PBV assistance. The development partner for this project is MBD Community Housing Corporation, L&M Development Partners, and Canberra Property Group, with property management being provided by CNC apartment managers and social services provided by both MBD and BronxWorks. Substantial rehab of the project will be funded through conventional debt sources, including a loan from Citibank and the New York City Housing Development Corporation. The total construction cost of the project is approximately $88 million, with a scope of work that will take approximately 18 months to complete through tenant-in-place rehab. The scope addresses both capital needs captured by the integrated physical needs assessment and needs arising from both resident and authority priorities, particularly around heating, security, and lead hazards. And the rehab will meet all needs identified in the IPNA and address major issues identified during the unit inspections. Closing is anticipated for next Friday, December 28th, with an effective conversion date of January 1, 2019. Any questions?
So this is part of the 62,000, right?
Yes, sir. 722 more.
Less than 60,000 to go.
And with that conversion, we will bring our total converted units to over 2,000 for this calendar year.
With more to come.
Yes, many more to come. The final item is quick and easy. This is an authorization to amend a board resol that was approved during the last meeting. Authorization is requested to amend board resol 18-1128-8, which authorized the amendment of another board resolution, 18-530-23, to allow the authority to submit a rental assistance demonstration, RAD financing plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the disposition of up to 25% of the units in Bushwick 2 Groups B and D, Hope Gardens, and Palmetto Gardens under Section 18 of the United States Housing Act of 1937 as amended instead of RAD. The authorization is requested to indicate the date of receipt of the letter of support from the New York City Deputy Mayor for Housing and Economic Development as December 14, 2018.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that the members be authorized to meet in executive session today to discuss the civil investigative demand and the litigation of the United States versus NYCHA and Baez. Et al. Versus NYCHA.
Chair, 27 items and one motion were presented for board approval. May I have a motion to approve the 27 items and the motion?
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being that all matters before the board today have been addressed, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. We'll be moving into